flicks in a blick too. Oh, he lack, blick him, blick you.
Oh,
making
let's
your
talk.
winning.
You're
You're
making a
dominating.
What the hell are you talking about? Anyways,
All right. All right.
all right, so everyone shut up. So, here I'll start with my opening. To start this off, I like to thank everyone for coming to watch this debate. I see, many friendly faces here. I see Single Phoenix, Void,
Okay.
Shiki, Apollo in the audience. I'd like to thank you all for coming out. In this debate, me and my partner here, Penny, will be defending the pro-choice position. And first and foremost, I must clarify what that means to us, as pro-choice is a very broad category of positions. The pro-choice position we'll be defending is just the belief that most elective abortions in the actual world are permissible. Before getting into the argument we're presenting, I'd like to concede a few things for sake of progress in the argument. These things are, fetuses are valuable in a non-trivial sense, meaning they're valuable to a relevant extent. For sake of the debate, let's just say nearly equally valuable to a fully grown human, and fetuses are impermissible to kill, all else being equal. To some of you, the previous statement I made, fetuses are impermissible to kill, all else being equal, may seem to be a concession, but that isn't true. On my view, there can be and are overriding considerations to the wrongness of aborting fetuses, hence the ceteris paribus clause in the statement. Another clarification is how exactly fetuses are valuable. To me, fetuses are not inherently valuable, meaning they possess no terminal values, but rather they act as objects towards the terminal values. The future person that comes from the fetus will not only have pleasurable states, but also be conducive towards others obtaining them. Now that we're past all that clarification, finally let's get into the argument. Premise 1. If it is okay to kill one person to save two, all else being equal, then most elective abortions are permissible. Premise 2. It is okay to kill one person to save two, all else being equal. Conclusion. Most elective abortions are permissible. This argument is obviously valid following modus ponens. Now, I'd like to think the first premise is the only one that's in dispute, but just in case it's not, I'll give a case for premise 2 quickly. Premise 1. Killing one person to save two produces better outcomes, all else being equal. Premise 2. If something produces better outcomes, all else being equal, then it is okay to do that thing. Conclusion. It is okay to kill one person to save two, all else being equal. Now that I gave that, let's get into the contentious premise. The reason for premise 1's truth is a few statistics, namely the fact that 73% of women, as of 2004, who get abortions reasons for getting it is, quote, I can't afford a baby right now, according to a study done by BMC Women's Health in 2013. Now, the wording of this statement implies something. If I were to be able to afford a baby right now, I would have it. This shows an obvious desire to have a kid, and as such, they are likely to have one in the future when they can afford it. This, when paired with statistics that say the average family has roughly 2 kids, 1.9 to be exact, and that 74% of young parents must uproot their life to have the kid, according to the same study used for the statistic as to why women abort, shows the obvious symmetry. If you had to uproot your life and let go of all of your dreams to do something, would you not be disincentivized from doing it in the future? If the answer is yes, you would be disincentivized. Sorry. If you had a kid and you had to uproot your life and let go of all your dreams to do so, would you not be less likely to have more in the future? Since we've established that, let's make it incredibly clear. If we allow this woman to abort this one child now, she is more likely to have more than one. If she has more than one in the future, there's more life preserved. The reason why it is okay to kill one to save two is because you are preserving more life. Therefore, premise 1's truth is preserved. To wrap everything up in a tight little bow, mothers are allowed to abort as long as better outcomes arise from it. In most instances of elective abortions, better outcomes do arise from it, as they are more likely to have 2 or more kids in the future. Given this, our pro-choice position is vindicated. Now that I've done that, let me pass the ball over to my opponents to see if they have an opening statement or if they drunkenly stumbled into this conversation ill-prepared.
Okay, is that it? Are you done? Um, yeah, so I could just give you the opening statement. It's quite literally just, firstly, I take the view that most elective abortions, specifically, what people mean when they say elective abortions is just that these abortions are done not to save the mother's life, but rather for non-medical reasons, in the case that the mother's life isn't actually in danger. So I'd like to preface that, again, specifically, just because in cases in which it creates better outcomes, also like to disagree with the premise that just because it creates better outcomes, therefore, like the action is morally justified. So hopefully my opponent can give a solid argument for that. The sort of argument that I'm going to be presenting it for the sake of the debate specifically is an argument that is actually displays why abortion is in fact severely morally wrong, even in the case in which it does actually create better outcomes. And the argument is simple. Here's premise 1. If an agent deprives a fetus of morally valuable development, then the agent is harmed the fetus. Premise 2. If the agent harmed the fetus, then the agent did an action which is morally wrong. Conclusion: if the agent deprives the fetus of morally valuable development, then the agent did an action that's morally wrong. And then the supporting argument for that is premise 3. If we all decrease the amount of harm done in the world, when morally considering any action, then we oughtn't allow elective abortion. Premise 4. We ought decrease the amount of harm done when morally considering any action. And then the conclusion is just we oughtn't allow any sort of abortions to happen. Additionally, I also have another argument, right, which is supposed to support the conclusion, and I'll pull it up in a second. So, give me a second. Da, 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 da. Yeah. So, premise one: if it is wrong to intentionally cause defects in the fetus such that some of its morally valuable future experiences are prevented, then it is wrong to cause defects such that all of them are prevented. Premise two: it is wrong to intentionally cause defects in the fetus such that some of its morally valuable future experiences are prevented. And the conclusion is, therefore, it is wrong to intentionally cause defects in the fetus such that all of its morally valuable experiences are prevented. And what this argument actually seeks to display specifically is just that any sort of abortions in which happen, in fact, like any, regardless of the situation, as long as they fulfill these certain sort of traits and categories, therefore they're morally unjustified. And in terms of the statistics, I think we can get into those later when we get into the open discussion. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's great. Rizzhan, do you have anything to add there? Penny, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't necessarily have anything to add.
I don't have anything
If
to
I have
add there.
anything to add in the future, I'll just let you know.
All right, so let's just get into the open discussion. And so, to be clear,
Yeah, who's
Shinra,
going
you
first, by
said.
the way?
Wait, so Shinra, just to be clear here, you said that the reason why it's wrong to get an abortion is because it's depriving a fetus of valuable experiences in the future. Can you tell me what harm means to you?
Harm means I'm a pluralist about harm, so I believe like harm can mean different things in different situations. But in the context of a fetus or in the context of like why it's wrong to abort, I generally take a deprivational account in terms of harm.
Okay, and you generally take a deprivationist account, but you take a pluralist account. Can you tell me like other instances of harm or other instances of harm
Sure,
mean
you
something
could
else?
take a qualia-based account of harm and say that specifically whenever an agent is harmed, what you mean by harm there is just that you're causing negative emotional or negative like valences onto the agent. You could
Oh,
take a variety of views. In fact, wait, I'm pretty sure I have a whole list of views that you could take. So give me a second. Um, yeah, you could take a harmed state account where harm is being in a condition in which a person would rationally prefer not to be in, right? You could also take a statistical normalcy account where it actually explains sort of like why some conditions are intuitively seen as harm or not, right? There are a variety of views you can take in terms of harm, but again, specifically, I think whenever we're talking about death, right, we're generally talking about like deprivational account in comparison to anything else. Or you could take an autonomy based account.
okay, great. And to be clear, you do agree that this is like obviously less parsimonious than a monist account, right?
Than the what account?
Than a monist account.
You'd have to outline the view for me.
Oh, well, a monist account is just the belief that harm reduces to one singular thing. It's just the opposite of a pluralist account.
Its harm reduces to one singular thing. Wait, I'd like to ask, why is it less parsimonious?
Because it posits more entities, retard.
Yeah, okay, it posits more entities, yes, but again, I'm trying to argue that it explains the data, explains how we use harm better than simply just applying it to one specific theory. Right.
Okay, do you know?
So again,
do you know what?
hold on. I wasn't done. So again, for it to be or for it to be less parsimonious, right, it needs to posit more entities while also not explaining more information, right? But
Okay,
obviously,
great.
if
Do
it
you know what a
explains,
deprivationist account of harm is?
hold on,
Wait,
hold on,
are you gonna let him
hold on.
finish? Are you gonna
Hold
let
on.
him finish?
So obviously, if it posits more entities but explains more information, I don't know why I'd grant that it's less possible.
Okay, great. Do you know what a deprivationist account of harm is?
Yeah, but you can outline your conception of it to me.
Okay, great. So I take a deprivationist account of harm, or sorry, not a deprivationist, a reductionist account of harm. Sorry. Do you know what a reductionist account of harm is?
No, you can outline the view to me.
Okay, so I just understand the reductionist account of harm to be that harm reduces to one singular thing, and that singular thing is not like like some complex thing, right? So a reductionist account of harm, specifically my type, it would say something like, whenever you harm someone, that's just doing something morally wrong to them. I did something wrong to them, right? And so it seems like to me this explains all the data. Because, well, whenever I think of someone harming something, I generally use the word harm synonymously with doing something morally bad to someone. Whenever I steal a kid's candy, it seems like I did something morally bad to that kid because I caused them like distress because I stole their candy. They don't get to eat the candy anymore. Whenever someone dies, the reason why that's morally bad is because it's depriving them of like future experiences. And this explains it without like positing an extra piece of data, which is like, oh well, also it's because of the deprivation. It could just be because it's morally bad, right? And this seems to explain all the data equally as well, and it actually posits less entities than like even a normal monist account of harm. Right, and so it seems like this is like the most parsimonious account, and I have no fucking clue how you're going to attempt to say that this one does not explain the data that you're trying to say that it doesn't.
So specifically, the first.
Before Shinra responds to that, I just have a few questions for Yugi.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so first question I have for Yugi is just that when you say, for example, when you give like the whole stealing the sweets example, when you say like, oh, you steal a lollipop from a child, do you think that in all cases in which you steal that lollipop from a child, doing something morally unfair, according to your parents?
No, because I'm a utilitarian. I think it
Wait,
depends on
okay,
circumstances.
hold on. Wait, to like build off what Rizzhan just said, if you believe specifically the actions are morally justified, right? Whether or not they create better outcomes, can you grant the view that you can create better outcomes while harming someone?
It can create better outcomes while harming someone. Well, yeah, it's
Yeah.
specifically doing something morally wrong to someone, but the action as a whole could be bad. Like, say, like I break
Wait,
into someone's
wait,
house.
repeat what you said.
Sorry, simmer down there. Let's say I
Wait,
like
he was
break
asking for
into someone's house,
clarification.
right?
Yeah,
Calm
I
down
asked you
there,
to repeat
Rizzhan.
what you said. I
Hey,
don't
can
know
we
what
get the
happened.
fucking moderator to actually do something? The moderator is being a fucking retard. Holy fuck. So, so Jesus Christ. So,
You shut
just
the
to be
fuck
clear
up.
here. So, just to be clear here. You can do something morally wrong, or I guess not morally wrong, but wrong to someone, as in like say
He
I
wants you
break
to
into
repeat
someone's
what
house, right?
you said.
Jesus fucking Christ,
Holy
calm
shit.
down.
I
So
need
what
you
I
Wants
to
to
say,
repeat
repeat.
what you said. I said I didn't hear you. Like, hello?
Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, so what I said
If he
was, if
doesn't
you do
hear you,
something
he's not going
wrong,
to be able
you
to
can do.
respond to
I'm
your
in the
argument.
middle of doing it, Rizzhan. I'm in the middle of doing
Yeah,
it. So let's. Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
Go ahead, Yuki.
So I can do something wrong to someone, but that and it be harmful to them, but the action as a whole not be harmful.
You can do okay. When you say you did something wrong to someone, what do you
What
mean?
could harm with it? Okay, so if we're not just talking
Wait.
about
Actually, no. Wait,
wait,
Rizwan, before you continue, I just need
yeah,
elaboration on that. When you say you did something wrong to someone, what do you mean?
It does something wrong. It just causes them negative states. Like
Negative states.
it lowers their well-being. Yeah.
It lowers their well-being. And when you say
Yeah.
what's it called, and specifically, so okay, so for when you say well-being, there, can I ask for the semantics on that too?
Yeah, I'm an objectivist theorist. I think I'm like a pluralist about well-being. I don't think any of the other well-being like accounts can account for like as well as objectivist theory can. Objectivist theory is just the belief that like there's not just like hedonistic well-being. There's not just like desire fulfillment well-being. There's not just stuff like that. It's actually like a bunch of different things coming together, right? You can have like the happiness and then the preference fulfillment, and then you have like other things like health, like knowledge, like autonomy, stuff like that. And I
Um,
think like all that coming together is what
do you,
constitutes well-being.
okay, do you have like a clear set of what's it called, a clear set of conditions, right? Or like a clear set of conditions to say that somebody has well-being, right?
A clear set of
Or is
conditions.
it just some intuition based thing? Because look, the simple reductio like I'm about to give you is just imagine a case where again there's a coma patient, right? And the traits you listed are health, your health, like emotional state, right, and
Yeah.
knowledge. Right? And imagine in this sort of case in the coma patient, right? I use it for my own pleasure, right? But this person never notices, right? And immediately they wake up, they're as they were before that. Right? Do you think that I did something that affected their well-being?
Yeah, because autonomy was one of them. You fucking retard. You didn't hear
When
me.
you say autonomy, when you say autonomy, there, what specifically do you mean?
Okay,
Do you
so
not mean?
autonomy. Do you not know what the fuck
Okay.
autonomy means? I
Wait,
want you to say that to me.
hold on.
I
I don't
don't know
know.
what
I don't know why
autonomy
you're
means.
raising
You're
your
retarded.
voice. Wait, hold on. I don't know why you're raising your voice
we don't
already.
know
But again,
wait,
yeah,
Yugi,
yeah,
I
I
know
don't
about
know
like
why that.
you're being very
But again,
hot-headed now.
specifically,
Do
Just
you
give
even
me
whenever
understand the
like
point of
Jesus,
saying I don't
wait,
think
he's
this
asking
kid's
for the
talking at
best
the
symbol
same
that
hold
time,
you
on,
can.
hold
retard?
on, hold on, hold on, hold on,
Eight mode.
Okay, hold on. So specifically, whenever people say that they value things like bodily autonomy, I think what they mean there is just that they value their ability to consciously express or consciously like use their own body however they'd like to without being restricted, right? But in the case of the analogy I gave you, right, where this person does not actually have any conscious experience, they're unable to actually control their own body freely. Right? I don't understand what you would mean specifically whenever you say autonomy in that. Like, well, how could you
Autonomy.
possibly be defining it in a way in which it's violated in this case?
Autonomy means consent. Do you think consent goes away whenever you fall asleep?
Repeat what you said.
Autonomy includes consent. Do you think consent is completely irrelevant whenever someone falls asleep?
No. I don't think it's
Obviously
completely
fucking
relevant.
not. So it applies to the coma patient too, doesn't it, retard?
Yeah, okay. One specific. So you think that in any sort of case in which I do something to you, right, which is like almost I do something to you, and like say I stop you from robbing a store, right? You think I'm doing something wrong to you there in that case because I'm violating your autonomy?
No, because there's
Wait,
well, maybe you're doing something that like frustrates my interests, but then all things considered, like the action as a whole is causing better positive states.
wait. I just need to get clear. So I would be doing something wrong to you, right? If I say stopped you from, let's say, like you
It
tried
would
to
be
jump off a
frustrating my
building, right?
interests.
Hold on. Say you wanted to jump off a building, right? And I stopped you from doing it, and I stopped you from doing it against your will. You think I'd be doing something wrong to you there because I frustrate your interests?
Yeah, I think it would probably upset me if I'm gonna go rob a bank and then you stop me from robbing the bank. You did something that upset me, but all things considered, the action is good.
Wait, okay. So it's just a yes or no. I'm doing so. I did something wrong to you. I just
Yes,
want to
you
get clear.
frustrated my interest. You upset me, but again, all things
Mhm.
considered, the action is good.
Okay, yeah. Again specifically, whenever somebody says, "Oh yeah, I did something wrong to X agent or X person," I don't understand why this sort of like why this sort of considerations they have whenever they say, "Oh yeah, I did something wrong to X agent." It's just it frustrates their own interest. Do you have any sort of argument as to why those sort of semantics on doing something wrong to a specific person account for most people's intuitions, or why they
I
have
don't
like
fuck.
greater
I don't
explanatory
fucking.
power?
I don't fucking
Mhm.
care about common language usage. That's how I use the terms retard. I don't give a
Is
fuck.
that how you use the term? So you'd grant that you're using it in a proprietary sense,
I
right?
never said that. I said I don't care about common language usage.
Okay, are you using it the way most people use it?
I don't know. I don't know the empirics on that.
You don't. Okay, from your own experience, whenever most people say you did something wrong to me, right? Do you think they mean that I frustrated your interest? So do you think most people will say like you meet a violent rapist, right, and you stop them from committing a crime? You think that they would tell you you did something morally wrong to me, right?
Wait, I have a question. I have a question,
Wait,
Shinra.
yo,
Did you
no,
really?
no, no.
Wait,
Answer
no,
my
no, no,
question,
no,
please.
no, no.
No, answer my
Did you really
question.
think? Did you really think trying to trap
Wait,
me into a
just
character
answer
thing
my
would work?
question, bro.
Oh
I'm
my
not here
god,
to waste my own
this is like
time.
such an
Well,
this is such a pathetic attempt to
Answer my
trap me.
question.
So I don't fucking
Answer my
know.
question, please. Answer
I
my
don't
question,
fucking
please.
know. I don't fucking know. Like
You don't know?
in my experience,
You
whenever I
don't
talk to
know?
people, like whenever I talk to people, and like, let's say I'm talking to like my mom or something, right? And I ask her, and she says, "Oh, you did something wrong to me." The
I
response
didn't ask
is,
for an analogy. I said it was a yes and is a yes, no, and I
Wait,
don't
Yugi, I
know.
have a
So is
quick
it and I
question.
don't know,
this
Wait,
and then
is
we
Yugi,
can
I have a quick
progress?
question.
this is implicitly.
Wait, no, wait, Rizzhan, you
Jesus
can ask
fucking
after,
Christ!
but
What is
I
this
haven't been able.
steamroll?
I had questions a
wait, no,
few.
no,
I had
okay,
questions a few
you can
minutes
go
ago. I
in a
haven't been able
second.
to.
You can go in a second.
What
I,
is
I
this
just want to get clear on this.
steamroll?
So wait, hold
Jesus.
on. It's wait. So specifically, it's a. I do not know if a rapist would tell me that I did something morally wrong by stopping them.
Sorry, what'd you ask?
Okay,
I
so
couldn't.
you are unclear, or you do not know, right? That if you were to say stop somebody from committing suicide, right? You don't know whether or not they tell you if they did a good or bad action to them.
Well, if I stop someone from committing suicide, it's probably a good action, but that's because of another part of well-being, right? Like,
No, specifically.
wait,
Oh,
sorry,
how do you
simmer
weigh
down
up?
there.
Wait, hold on.
Wait,
Yeah, okay.
sorry.
How do you weigh
I
up
was in the middle
between
of
the two?
answering the question. I was in the
Okay, go
middle of
ahead, bro.
answering.
Go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so yes, I agree. I'm maybe frustrating their interests at that specific moment, but all things considered, most people want to stay living, right? And so maybe at that moment they'd be a little upset with me. They start like crying. They start yelling at me because I'm stopping them from killing themselves. But in the future, whenever they go to get therapy, whenever they get better, they're probably gonna thank me. They're gonna say thank you for stopping me from killing myself. This happens to so many people that get saved from suicide. You don't know shit about this. You have no fucking clue. You've never talked about suicide. You've never looked into suicide in your fucking life. Most people, whenever they get saved from suicide, they go on to say they're thankful for the people who stopped them. They go and have a better life in the future.
Okay, are you done?
Usually, whenever people stop talking, that's when they're done with their sentence.
You've never debated infinity then. Anyways, look, my question is one, okay, even if I grant that, like, say in the future, right, that they would have what's it called in the future, they would actually say, oh yeah, no, you did something right by doing this. You'd have to agree that in the current moment, since I'm currently like what's it called, since I'm currently acting against their interest, I'm doing something morally wrong for one, and then two, I'd like to know how do you specifically weigh up, right? Which one of these sorts of values in your objective list theory, quote unquote, which one of these values take precedence, right? Why does say, for example, somebody has interest towards doing something, right? and they have interest towards doing this thing, even though this thing won't actually give them the most amount of pleasure. How do you determine which one you should value more? I'm confused. How do you weigh up the two?
All of them are equal, but some of them can outweigh others.
What does that mean? They're equal, but one can outweigh others? So two people can weigh. Wait, okay. So two people can weigh equal. Wait, shush. So two people can weigh equally, but one can be heavier than the other.
Jesus.
You sure?
Obviously what I was
Wait, it's a yes or no. It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no.
Can I answer the question? Clear up the confusion you have?
Sorry.
Okay. So obviously what I was saying there was they're all equal. Like 1 point of autonomy is equal to 1 point of hedonic states or something. But given there's 2 points of hedonic states and 1 point of autonomy, hedonic states obviously fucking outweigh there. That was what I was saying. I don't know how the fuck you got that autistic misinterpretation.
Okay. How do you measure autonomy? Can you tell me that, please?
It's just you're like not frustrating someone's like consent. And obviously like it's just it's like
what? How do you measure? Okay, one.
Can I answer
how do you measure the degree in which somebody consents to something?
Can the moderators fucking mute him?
Boy, doesn't mute. Sorry.
Can the moderator? Thank you. Okay, so it like frustrate. Why did he unmute himself? Okay, so the moderators holy fuck. Okay, so the way you determine if you're like violating autonomy or if you're giving like someone some negative autonomous state is if you're violating their consent, right? So obviously there's like some intuitive basis, like sometimes whenever I violate someone's consent, it's worse than others. Whenever I like steal a piece of candy from my brother, that's worse, or not that's worse, that's better than me brutally molesting a random That's obviously better than that, and so we just have some intuitive basis, like sometimes some frustrations of consent are worse than others, right? And so obviously the frustration of consent is just going to be on some intuitive. Let's say like if there's a 1 for stealing the candy from my there's got 50 for me raping a random fucking 12-year-old. That's how you determine it. And then for the hedonic states, like, oh, well, I feel happier whenever, I don't know, I get married, and then I feel whenever I get like a I feel happier whenever I get married than I feel when I get like a chocolate bar on a Tuesday. And then you just kind of like intuit like which values are higher than, and then there's like a calculus to figure it out.
Okay, so specifically, like again, you said that there's some sort of intuitive basis. I can agree, right? That to certain degrees, that you can just intuit which one is greater than the other, right? So obviously, I can intuit that an elephant is bigger than an ant, even without being physically there to measure them, right? But the thing is that there's a very, very huge vagueness issue here. Right? Okay, but there's a very, very huge vagueness issue here, right? So in one of these cases, like assuming you're a physicalist, you can physically measure the amount of hedonic or the amount of hedonic states that any agent has, right, after a given action occurs to them, right? So that's the sort of thing where you can literally measure it. Whereas in the other case, you're just saying that, oh well, we can rely on people's intuitions, right? But again, in cases in which people's intuitions don't align with yours, right, how do you determine which one is better? Is there not some sort of objective or mind independent basis that you have to appeal to whenever you say that or whenever you say that this one clearly, or this case of consent clearly like triumphs over another? So say for example, I save your life, right? And you're about to like jump off a cliff, I save your life. But the process in me saving your life is extremely painful, right? And you completely consent to me saving your life. How do you measure between the consent, the amount of consent you have for me to save your life compared to the amount of pain you get? Like, how do you measure the two? Because clearly, in one of these cases, you're only measuring off of intuition, whereas in the other of these cases, it's at least feasible that you can measure these things objectively. I don't know how you'd be able to compare the two, and I don't know like what sort of standard you're appealing to there. Saying, "Oh yeah, I can just intuit it," doesn't answer the question because intuition isn't a standard, right? You can say intuition is a mode of sensing this thing, but it isn't a standard, right? Maybe we have some sort of like internal standard that we have that we just aren't cognitively aware of, right? But again, I'd assume you have a standard that we should be aware of, seeing as you're a utilitarian. So I'd like to know what it is.
Okay, do you agree getting candy stolen from you is is better than getting raped? Do you agree with that?
What'd you say?
Do you agree that getting candy stolen from you is better than getting raped?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And do you agree getting a candy bar on like a Tuesday afternoon is less good than getting married to the...
What'd you say?
Do you agree that getting a candy bar on like a Tuesday afternoon is less good than getting married to the love of your life?
Under your standard, I have no clue how we determine that.
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you, do you
Oh
believe in
yeah, no, yeah. Under my soul standards, yeah, sure.
Okay, great. That's all I need. I need that. That's all I need. That intuitive basis. We like intuit which ones are better, and which ones are worse, and then from that intuition, we perform some like quote unquote calculus. We say, well, this one's better than this one, and from that we can determine that this one's better. That's how we do it, right? We don't need to give like actual like assigned values or something, right? We just do that to make it clear to how someone else understands it, right? To make it better to understand for someone else. Because if I just say, well, I intuit the values, well, that seems kind of weird, right? But obviously we do intuit the values, right? There's no fucking way for me to say like I have 3 points of pleasure right now. What I would say is, well, this is better than if I hadn't done this, right? Me not doing anything at all is worse than if I hadn't gone out and played arcade games with my friend, right? And then that's just how we determine it, right? And then we like consider, well, okay, this one's better than this one, but is this one worse than this one is good? And then from that you determine like, well, getting raped is probably more bad than getting a candy bar is good. And then that's how we determine.
Wait, before Shinra answers that, I just have a few questions that I didn't get in before. The first question I have is just whether you think that there are other ways to measure autonomy outside of intuition.
Is there other ways to measure autonomy outside of intuition? What do you mean?
Yeah.
I asked, what do you mean?
Wait, what did you say?
I said, what do
He
you
asked,
mean?
"What do you mean?"
So when you say, so when you say that X person has autonomy, or when you make like an example where you try and say that X has more autonomy than Y in that situation, or Y has more autonomy than X, what like do you
Well,
think that the only way to measure autonomy, do you think that the only way to measure autonomy in that scenario or in that case is intuition, is as using the intuition as like the metric?
Well, no, it's not this. Okay, just to clear up a little confusion there you had in your statement. It's not that some people or some things have more autonomy than others. The basis is how bad the break in or the breach in autonomy is, right? And that's why I gave the example like
Yeah, and I'm
whenever I rape some.
asking
Wait, hold
how.
on, calm down. That's why whenever I get raped, that's worse than whenever I get like a candy bar stolen from me. And going on there, yeah, not only is it like an intuitive basis, but we can also say like I can like introspect and be like, okay, how did it feel when I got my candy stolen before? And then I can like think back to that emotion, think back how I felt whenever that happened. I'd be like, okay, it's like about that. And then I like consider like given the facts I know about rape, like I like introspect and like how would I feel if I were to get raped right now? How would that feel? And then I think about it for a second. I realize, well, that's definitely worse. And so you can just compare experiences that you've had to like other experiences you either have had or you might have. So you can do it, but generally it is just intuition.
Okay, so just to be incredibly clear, you think that there are other ways to it other than intuition, just to be clear.
Well, it's intuition and comparing experiences, yeah, but generally it's intuition.
What did you say?
It's intuition and comparing experiences, but it's generally intuition.
Okay. And then the second question I just wanted to ask you is just that if you believe that intuitions are intended to like report to objective moral facts.
I don't believe that. No.
Oh, okay. If that's fine, because I just wanted to see if like you thought you had that question. But if you don't like believe in any of that, then sure, we can just move on.
Yeah, sure. So I just want an argument
Wait,
from you now.
okay, hold on.
Wait, hold on.
Wait,
Hold
before we move on,
specific.
before I move on, I just remember one more question I
My
have.
bad.
So the third question I just want to ask is just that when you say comparing experiences, like how do you know which one is better?
Oh, you just ask yourself like how you felt or how you do feel, or how you felt or how you do
Wait,
feel
so
whenever
would
that
you say
happens.
that's down to introspection? Would you say it's down to qualia,
I
like
said
introspection, down to like intuition? Like what do you think it is down to?
I said introspect like 5 minutes ago.
So introspect. So let me just like get a clear definition of what you mean by introspection. When you say introspection, does it just mean that when you're like when you go inside your mind, go inside your own brain or mind, and you kind of just investigate like what's happened there?
Yeah, you like go into your own brain, and then you like ask yourself like, oh well, yeah, like how do I feel about these experiences, and whenever this happens, how does this experience feel? Stuff like that, and you just kind of like consider it, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's fine. If Shinra
Yeah,
wants to
sure.
jump in now, then he can jump in.
Yeah. So one, it just seems as if like Firstly, either your view just completely falls flat on its head, or it's wait. Okay, am I unmuted or am I
If
lagging?
I'm not here, then I'll be
You're unmuted.
disqualified.
Why is this guy rapping, bro? Am I muted? Hello?
Yeah, you're
Why am I
fine.
talking
You're
to
fine.
myself?
You're fine, Shinra.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Yeah. So look, firstly, I just think either A, your view falls flat on his head, or B, it just boils down completely onto like just relying on your preferences. So whenever you say specifically that the way in which you determine which one of these experiences of violations in consent is worse is through introspection. And by introspection you mean word for word that you look into your own experiences and you determine how I felt in one situation and how I felt in the other situation. Typically, the sort of ways in which you determine like which one of these feelings you have, which one is worse and which one is better, is through the amount of pleasure or pleasure or pain that they cause you. Right. So it's either the case that whenever you mean that we rely on our intuitions, what we mean there is just that we rely on which one of these, through at least through personal experience, rely on which one of these actually creates us more pleasure. And which would again just collapse your standard into one specific value, which would be which one causes you more pleasure. And it isn't actually autonomy of value. Rather, it's actually it's actually the pleasure and pain in which your autonomy being violated, right? That actually is the thing that you value there. And then again, the like reductio just completely goes through if it's the case that the thing you're valuing there is actually just the valence state. Because again, you could just posit that this person just has no valence state in the current moment. They'd never become aware of the action that happened to them. Right? And clearly, even if they never become aware of the action that happened to them, right, they are unable to introspect about the matter, right, or determine how they felt about the matter because specifically they do not have any feelings about the matter. Right? It would still be morally wrong regardless of that. But yeah, you can give your response. Also, what is Penny doing?
She's just sitting there. She's just chilling there. But the answer is, I think it's wrong to rape an unconscious person. An unconscious person in valent states, fucking retard. Obviously,
Repeat what you said. You like that?
I think raping an unconscious person is bad. Unconscious people don't feel valent states to things that happen to them consciously. I think it's wrong to rape someone. Obviously, it's the case that I consider autonomy to be one of the values, and it's not just pleasure, you fucking retard. I said this earlier.
Okay. One specifically, I need you to repeat the first thing you just said.
I said it's wrong to
Mhm.
rape an unconscious person. Obvious and
Uh-huh.
unconscious people don't feel things that are happening to them in the outside world. So
Yep.
obviously, it's not just valent states. You fucking retard. That's what I said.
Okay, and by virtue of what would it be wrong?
You breaching their autonomy? That's a
Okay,
terminal
and by
value?
virtue, wait, hold on. What's it called? Whenever you say breaching autonomy, there, if you're trying to compare breaching autonomy to say the amount of pleasure that the rapist gets, right? Whenever they're committing the action, how do you determine which one of those two is more valuable?
How do I determine which? Well, it's usually just like the impact that rape has on someone's life. You like consider how
Okay.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
Can I finish the answer? Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
So you consider like you look at like, well, how does like rape affect like women or men's life throughout the rest of this or throughout the rest of their life? Women who get raped generally in the future tend to have like really bad experiences, right? Like they tend to have like PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to suffer. They tend to like have all these really bad things. And then you just consider like even if she weren't to find out about this, this is what like it generally causes. And so because of that, you can say like, oh well, it's bad because of this, but also it's just bad because generally we don't want to violate people's consent. Like even if my brother never finds out, it's still bad to like steal like something from my brother. Even if like the store never finds out, it's still generally wrong to steal from a store. Um, stuff like that. And so from that we can like understand autonomy is like a terminal value.
Yeah, okay. One, nobody is disagreeing that it's wrong, right? Specifically, what I'm disagreeing with is by virtue of what standard are you able to determine that it's wrong? Now, the first thing you brought up, you listed a whole bunch of effects that this crime may have onto the person. Obviously, none of these like effects actually apply to somebody who just isn't experiencing the action happening to them. And if they aren't experiencing the action happening to them, then trivially they wouldn't actually be able to know all of these psychological effects that may happen to them. They wouldn't have actually be able to know. The second example you give is, oh yeah, well, if I steal from my brother and he never finds out, it'd be wrong. I agree it would be wrong, right? But in this case, the reason why would that it harms them, irrespective of whether or not what's it called, irrespective of whether or not they realize it or not, right? And so I actually think that it violates certain sort of rights they have. Whereas in your case, and it's the sort of standard that you're applying, you don't have any sort of way in which you can determine which action is wrong or not. Right? Because again, you said specifically, okay, that you can be doing something wrong to them, but you wouldn't be doing a wrong action in general, because this wrong action in general actually, or this action in general actually creates better consequences, right? So now I'd just like to ask you, is the action that I listed out in the analogy, what this, the other person is a coma patient, is that action in general correct? Because it produces better consequences in overall, or better results overall. Because in the consequences are this person gets violated, they never realize it, they never experience it, right? And this other person gets pleasure. So how do you determine which action is? How do you determine like whether or not this person did something good overall or bad overall?
I think about how it would impact me if I were to find out that I got. I figure out how
You
it.
think
I
about
think
how
about
it
how
would
it.
impact you?
I think about how it would impact me if I were to get raped whenever I was unconscious, and I think like, would it like strongly positively impact me? If I were to get raped while I was unconscious? Well, no. Would it like strongly negatively impact me if I got raped while I was unconscious? Well, yeah, and then that's just a reason to believe that like rape is wrong. And
So
in most instances, rape is. Hold on, sorry, in the middle of my statement,
mhm.
I'm going to respond to the other thing. No, it's not the case that yeah, it's not the case that generally raping like unconscious people is right. As I said, like that's explained by the thing I said. And then for the other thing you said, you think it's wrong because you're harming them. Well, yeah, I agree, but again, we've already went over the like theory of harm you have. We've already explained how it's like extremely less parsimonious, and mine can account for that just fine. I think it's wrong. I think it's morally wrong for me to steal something from someone, and that posits less entities in your pluralist account. And it also posits less entities if you were a monist and you said it was a counterfactual account because you not only posit like yeah, what's it called? You not only posit um like what
Uh-huh.
harms people, but that also that harm can only be done to agents. I don't think harm can only be
Um,
done to agents. I think you can harm animals and stuff. I don't posit that extra entity like limiting the scope or something. It's fine.
yeah, okay, you like that at the end, but again, specifically, you said that your account can account for it like perfectly, and the way you'd account
Yeah.
for it is, oh, well, how would I feel if this thing happened to me? You understand that that is a standard in which is entirely unmeasurable. You can't actually apply it to almost every single moral situation that happens in the real world or anything in any other of these sorts of cases at all. Right? Again, I don't understand how you'd even be. Wait, hold on. I don't understand how you'd even be able to come or to come into the knowledge of, oh, well, how would I feel if this specific action that never occurred to me happened? And in that case, right, would you say that, okay, if somebody else said, oh, yeah, well, I think the sort of harm that I'd, or this, how I'd feel generally in comparison to the amount of pleasure the other person would feel, if they felt better compared to how you'd feel like worse, do you think that they'd be doing an action morally right there?
Sorry, repeat the last like 15 seconds.
If I feel, say, 10% sad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, if I feel 10% sad, right? And this other person feels 30% happy, do you think, like, say, if this case happened to me while I was unconscious, do you think that then that person did an action that's morally justifiable?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes?
Mm-hmm. You just let
Yeah,
me
okay.
reword your question. Wait, hold on, real
Yes?
quick. Let me reword your question. If I did something to you that was 3 times better than it is bad, would that be a good action?
Yeah, okay. That just begs the question and assumes your viewpoint already. Like,
What?
I don't agree. Wait, hold on. I don't agree that simply what makes an action good or bad is whether or not it maximizes positive valence states. I don't grant that, right? Which is why I disagree with premise one of your argument. So again, even if it is worse for me, right? Or even if it's like better for me or for them compared to how it's worse for me, I'd still say they did something wrong, right? It's also why I'd say that it is also wrong for me to kill a 1 5-year-old in comparison to two. I think both of those actions in the alternative is wrong. And I think that aligns better in like with people's intuitions rather than biting the bullet and assuming that in some cases violating somebody's autonomy is actually morally justified. And they'd be morally unjustified if they didn't do that. Right.
Okay, so I just want to be clear. You said I begged the question towards my view. What you said was an internal critique, you fucking retard. Obviously, I'm gonna invoke my view whenever we're talking about an internal critique. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So now that we've got over that retarded fucking begging the question, let's just
Wait,
go
that's
over
not
it.
an internal
The point was,
critique. It wasn't
shut
an
the
internal
holy
critique.
shit.
Why the fuck are
Holy
you still
fucking
talking,
shit.
you fucking moron?
Why does this guy keep Jesus Christ? So he asked me, under my view, would it be permissible, given I feel like 30% happy from doing something, and the person feels like 10% sad from doing something, under my view, would that be good? That is an internal critique. Anyone who thinks that's not is a fucking retard. You have no clue what the fucking an internal critique is. So just to be clear here, yes, it's an internal critique, and yes, it's obviously fucking true under my view that it would be good, right? And so yeah, it just kind of follows. And the point I said, well, you're asking me if this thing was 3 times better. I'm just replacing the term so it sounds like more trivial. And I can even replace it better for you. If this action were good, would it be good? I fucking wonder. Jeez. So, okay, now that we're past that, listen, I don't think you've like responded to anything so far. Like the only like everything you said. I'm just in the middle of a statement.
Before,
Calm down.
like you finish
Calm
off,
down. You'll get. Calm
I
down.
know
You'll calm
something.
down.
We're not.
Can
I
the
just
moderator
want to
mute
know
the
something
retard?
real quick.
Can the moderator
It
mute
was
the
an
retard?
internal critique. Wait,
Can the
wait,
moderator mute
What do you mean it wasn't an internal critique? How is it not an internal critique?
wait,
How is it not an internal
Can the moderator
critique?
mute
Go
the
ahead.
retard?
wait, let me
No,
finish.
no, Penny, just don't even engage with it. Can the moderator mute the?
Wait, I just need like wait.
Can the
I just
moderator
need to say
mute
something.
You don't-
real
You
quick.
can say it. You can say it after I'm done talking, Rizzhan. It's okay.
Yeah, okay,
Just chime
go
in the
on,
debate
go on.
still. Okay, great. And so, what I was saying was everything in that response kind of like laid on the fact that what I was saying begged the question towards my view. And listen, I want to have a little fun here. I want to entertain the audience. So I'm just gonna press you on this. Premise 1, premise 2, conclusion: harm reduces to utility. And so I want you to tell me which of these 2 premises suppose the conclusion. Which of the 2 premises are identical to or suppose the conclusion? Fill it in. Go ahead. Come on.
Okay,
Come on,
Okay.
Shinra. Since you said it begs the question.
Okay,
All the
Shinra does
premises.
that.
Wait,
Yeah, before
wait,
Shinra does
Rizzhan,
that, I just have
it's
something
fine,
to
it's
say.
fine. I
Just to
don't
respond to
look.
like the whole.
I don't want to waste my time. Wait, hold on. I
Wait,
don't
just let me
want to waste my
respond.
time arguing about whether or not it's like an internal
Bro,
critique
I
or whether or
literally,
not
bro,
it's
at least you have 5.
Look, I just want to understand specifically the sort of view you're taking. You're saying that it would be. Wait, hold on. So the sort of view you're taking, you're saying that it would be. It's actually morally justified for you to sacrifice one person to save 2. Correct?
Sorry, what was the question?
The sort of view you're taking is the view in which you'd say that it is morally justified to sacrifice one person to save 2. Correct?
All else being equal, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And specifically you take that sort of view in comparison to any other sort of views in which you determine in what situations an action is morally justified because
What are you talking about?
okay, so in comparison to all of the other views, right, which have different conditions as to whether or not an action is morally justified, do you like I need an explanation specifically as to why that one, the one you're presenting in this debate, is the view in which you're adopting? Is it because A, it has higher explanatory power, B, it explains most people's intuitions, C, like whatever option you can infill this third option? Like what for like by what are you actually determining that?
Wait, before Yugi answers that,
Wait.
since I didn't get to.
Jesus!
You're
like ping-ponging
since I didn't get
Why,
to say
bro?
what.
What?
This is like the
Wait, I didn't
strategy.
get to.
This is the
didn't get to
strategy.
say
They
what I
just like
wanted to say.
ping pong back and forth. They don't let me talk. What the fuck?
Real time, bro.
Maybe
Real
you
time,
to let
bro.
you
Rizzhan,
talk.
fall back,
We
fall
didn't let
back,
him
fall
talk.
back,
Put the
fall
fuck
back.
down, nigga. Holy shit. Bro, what are you
Wait, can you
doing?
hop
Maybe if they
off
talk
the
for
No,
for
bro.
long enough, I won't get to speak. Maybe if they don't talk for long enough,
Wait, can you
they're
just-
like running the timer right
I
now.
have 2 things
Realize
to
if they
say.
just don't let they run the timer. It's so
Wait,
funny.
Yugi, I have 2 things to say. 2
You
very
have a
simple
bunch of
things
things to say, don't you, fucking moron? You have a bunch of things
You
to
know
say.
what? No, Penny, you know what? I'll be
Yeah.
nice. What's up, Rizzhan? What's up, buddy?
Yeah, exactly. So just to respond to like your internal critique, and again, like before I like respond to like, the internal critique point, I just want to say to Penny, look, Penny, if you're going to engage in 2v2, if you're going to be rhetorical, at least try and engage in some substance instead of just being in the background, making dumb ad libs and hopping on Eric Cloud and like actually do something meaningful for debate. You're not doing anything meaningful. So just to respond to Penny there. Now to respond to you, I don't know why this guy's laughing like the Joker. But just to respond to his internal critique point, an internal critique is where you presuppose the semantics of a view to show an inconsistency. But that's not what Shinra was doing there. Shinra was trying to give a reductio against the thing that Yugi said was good, meaning that would be an external critique. It would be an internal critique because he's not presupposing the semantics of a view to show an inconsistency. But he's trying to give a reductio to the thing that Yugi said was good. So if he's trying to give a reductive thing Yugi said was good, then obviously that's just not an internal critique. You know you blundered there. Hence why you're not letting me trying to speak. You know you blundered there. It's not an internal critique. It's an external critique.
Wait, Penny. Wait, no, Penny. Just let me take it. So, Rizzhan, I have a question. Wait, Rizzhan, I have a question for you. So, whenever I ask you something, and I say, like, given there's like 10% sadness and like 30% utility, do you believe it's permissible? Whose semantics do you think you're talking about there? Do you think you're talking about mine? Do you think you're talking about yours? Do you think you're talking about Kezi's? Do you think you're talking about Regulus's? Or do you think you're talking about fucking yours? Because the question was aimed at you. You fucking retard. Holy fuck.
Wait, I didn't. Wait. I didn't hear the first part. What you said.
He's processing.
So you're gonna have to respond to that.
Okay.
You're gonna have to repeat that again.
Okay, so let's say I ask you a question, and the question's like, given there's like 10% X and 30% Y, do you believe, given there's 30% Y, it's permissible? Whose semantics do you think I'm asking about? Do you think I'm asking about yours? Do you think I'm asking about mine? Do you think I'm asking about Shinra's? Do you think I'm asking about Mercury's? Do you think I'm asking about Archie's? Or do you think I'm talking about fucking yours? Obviously I'm talking about yours, because the question's about you. I'm asking you, do you believe this is permissible? So obviously it's an internal. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about. You're a retard.
Wait, no, that's just because you already taken it. The problem is that you've already taken it, or you've already taken what action that like Shinra is talking about to be permissible, to be good, right? And again, what Shinra is trying to do here is simply just what Shinra is trying to do here is that he's trying to critique what you're saying is good. If he's trying to critique what you're saying is good, that's an internal critique. That's an external critique.
You fucking idiot.
He's critiquing what you're saying is good.
Okay, so just to be clear, is he or is he not saying my semantics and my understanding of what's more not map onto the intuition? Is he not saying? Is he not saying that? Is he not saying that my semantics and my understanding of more not map? I was repeating it. So is he not saying that my semantics and my understanding of morals do not map onto the understandings that people's have, that other people have, and do not map onto other people's intuitions? Do you believe that's what he's saying? Because that's the point of a reductive. Do you believe that's it?
Can I get my response? I think you guys, you guys forgot that I'm on a time limit.
Wait, Shinra. Okay, Rizzhan. I'll get real
can't hear what you're saying.
I'll get real close to the microphone for you. Can you hear me? Is Rizzhan lagging out? Is this a Rizzhan?
Yes, he's lagging out. Can you respond to why?
Okay, great. Okay,
bro, Rizzhan. Place his hand on shoulder. It's all over. Can you step back, please?
Okay, so I just want to. I want Rizzhan to answer. Rizzhan, whenever whenever Shinra is delivering that, is he saying that my semantics and my understanding of morals do not map onto most people's intuitions because that's what a reductio? What a reductio tries to do.
I can't hear what you're saying. You literally keep out. Like I'm not. My Wi-Fi is bad.
Wait, do people in chat know what I'm saying? Do people in chat know what I'm saying?
I just told you I literally can't. Okay, I just told you out because it's my Wi-Fi.
Holy fuck!
The Wi-Fi. Like, I literally cannot hear what you're saying.
Holy fuck!
Okay, look.
Your own Wi-Fi, dude. Holy shit!
Rizzhan is cutting out. He needs to take a sabbatical. Okay, so respond to what I said.
Let me just rejoin. Wait, let me join and rejoin.
No, let me beat this nigga's ass, bro.
Wait, Penny, calm down. Penny, calm down. Okay, so Shinra, what were you gonna say, buddy? What's up?
Yeah. Okay. Look. I'm sorry. Okay. Let me wipe the smile off my face.
Let me. I can hear your smile from here. Hold on. Let me lock in.
Okay.
Right,
look. I was asking, by virtue of what do you specifically pick, say, creating better outcomes as the property in which it makes this given action good in comparison to any of the other properties? Is it either that it explains it's quote unquote more internally consistent or what?
Well, are you asking me like, is the good maker here? Is that it producing? Is it producing?
What specifically motivates you to pick this as the good maker in comparison to any of the other properties in which the given action has?
Mm-hmm. Oh well, I just think that's how most people are using the terms, right? Like, I'm sure you would agree. Like the reason why I think you're a deontologist. I'm sure you would agree. The reason why you're a deontologist is because you think deontology leads to like better outcomes, right? The better outcome thing, it doesn't you don't even have to be right? Like, it doesn't even, you don't even have to be utilitarian. Like the view is compatible with any view, right? Like you would probably agree, like on like a deontologist framework, we have like, you probably believe we have like an imperative to sustain life, right? Just quick yes or
Yep.
no. Okay, great. And so we have an imperative to sustain life. And so in this instance, yeah, you are sustaining more life. There's two lives that are being sustained as one. And so even under a deontologist, you'd have like an imperative to like kill the one person to save the two, or even I could like reword it. Even I could like reword it to like make it even clearer. You have an imperative to save two people, right? And so like it's not necessarily to do with my utilitarians. This debate could have gone on without going into utilitarianism whatsoever, right? Like it's perfectly compatible with you two, right? I'm just saying like this is why I believe.
Wait, give me a second. Okay, I just have that. Anyways, so specifically, you said that it's because it explains most people's intuitions, and under the ontological framework, right? You would even be the case that you have an imperative towards saving these two people in comparison to one, right? Or you'd have the imperative towards like creating the best outcomes, right?
Well, I didn't say it's to do with intuitions, but you can understand it that way. But yeah, I think like under every view, what they're trying to do is like generate the best possible. Yeah.
I think specifically, even though like the sort of reason as to why we adopt these views, actually no, specifically, I think like even deontology is a bad example for that. I don't think most people who are deontologists would say that, oh well, an action which creates the best outcomes is identical to the good action. Instead, they'd probably say something like what is good or what is bad is independent of the consequences, or is independent of which one like has better consequences, right? It's actually based in certain sort of virtues that we have. So say I could push off a child off like a moving train track, right, in order to save three other children. Even though I'm preserving the lives of more people, somebody who's a deontologist will say that in fact that action is still wrong, right? Because you're violating or because you aren't acting in accordance to certain sort of virtues, right? So again, I don't think specifically that what's it called, saying that we should or saying that we like most moral views actually have like intuitions towards the Rizzhan, your mic. Yeah, but I don't I don't think most what's it called? I don't think the claim that posits that most like ethical theories actually base what action is good or bad based off of which one has better consequences. I don't think that claim is true.
Okay, so to be clear, it's not saying like better consequences, right? You would probably agree a world in which everyone follows like the deontic rules. That's a better world, right?
Repeat what you said?
In a world where everyone follows the deontic rules, that's a better world, right?
If it was do yeah, I'd agree it's a better. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So exactly, it's aligning with what I said, right? And so, what I'm saying is like, we have like under deontology, specifically your, we have like this imperative to preserve life, and all my argument is saying is like this imperative to preserve life does follow to like a pro-choice conclusion, at least like in the. I'd actually concede this. Like I agree. Like in a perfect, I'd probably be pro, right? Like in a perfect world where like abortion doesn't cause harm, and like every person who has a kid isn't going to be like significant likely, or every person who has a kid like whenever they're young is like less likely to have kids. I'd agree. I'd probably be for. I'm just
Okay,
not in this.
yeah. So specifically, one before we continue, I'd like to get clear. How did you originally define pro-choice for this, like for the sake of this debate?
Most elective abortions in the actual. Sorry, I'm cutting out.
Yeah, you're correct.
Most elective abortions in the actual world, permissible.
You cut out again, but they are morally permissible.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Saying that specifically, like, oh yeah, if you were to sacrifice one person to save two, right? Saying that that sort of action would also align with like the ontology is just completely false, right? The sort of principle you're using to actually like get to a pro-choice conclusion is just saying that you're reducing harm or you're leading to better outcomes, and because you're leading to better outcomes, therefore your action is morally justified. But again, I don't know the sort of motivation as to why that is true. Again, I can give you the example I gave you before. Do you think that in some situations it is morally justified for me to beat a 5-year-old to death? Say I have Infinity, right? It's a 5-year-old Infinity. I pin him down to the floor and I beat him to death because I actually want to preserve the lives of Archie and Kezzy. Nobody would say that that action is morally justified. right? In fact, I think the best thing they'd say probably is just that it's the better of two evils, right? Or like also called it's the best of the available options. But I don't think they'd say you're doing something morally virtuous, right? Or something morally good if you were to sacrifice baby infinity, right? Regardless of how annoying and black he is, right? But
Well,
um
Wait,
yeah, you
before
can
you
go ahead.
respond, Yuki, look. Before you respond to the sheet argument, is there a judge? Because we always need a judge for the
it's
event.
I think we're
Oh, if
sending
you
it to
don't get your
Sakazuki.
skibbity Sigma.
I
Right,
think we're
chill.
sending it to Sakazuki after.
Okay.
But Shinra, just to be clear, it doesn't have to be like a good action. Like as a deontologist, you would probably agree. Like sometimes you have like imperatives that aren't good, right? Like you would agree with that.
Repeat you said?
As a deontologist, you'd agree. Sometimes you have imperatives that aren't good, right?
What sorts of imperatives? I agree. Like, you can have like, say, practical imperatives that, like, oh yeah, you should like in
Yeah.
this sort of case, out of all of the practical options that you have available to you, you should pursue this action. Sure, but I don't think like we have moral imperatives that aren't good, right? I
You
just
don't think we
don't
have?
like that.
You don't think we have moral imperatives that aren't good?
No, I don't know. I
Okay.
like. There's been no
Wait.
argument provided for that.
Wait.
Convinced though.
So, what do you mean by a moral imperative? Maybe it's just like some semantic dispute.
Whenever I say moral imperative, I mean specifically like you have to do this thing or this action like aligns with all of the sorts of virtues and values that we have, right?
Oh,
And then
okay.
like also called yeah, based off of it aligning with all of like or the action that would align with all of these virtues and values that I have, right? You like it's a command that you should do this specific action. I don't think that there's a case in which you align with all of my virtues and values and the action isn't good. So
Okay, so do you believe like you can let's say like there's a belief like you ought not there's like an imperative like you ought not kill people, right? And
mhm,
then let's say there's this action, right, where like you see or you know like someone's gonna kill two people in the future.
mhm.
And you have the choice either I kill this person and stop them from killing two people in the future, or I don't kill this person and I allow them to kill two people in the future. You would agree like you have an imperative there to not kill the person, right? And that's like a moral imperative.
Wait, repeat the hypothetical really quickly. I was playing Block Blast.
Let's say there's like this person, right? And this person, you know, this person like in the future is gonna go on to kill two people,
Mhm.
and you like, you see this person, and you see this person, and it's like, well, I could or I could not kill this person to stop them from killing the person. It's stipulated that's the only way you can stop them, by the way.
Mhm.
I could kill this person to stop them, or I could not kill this person to stop them. Would you think you have a
Mhm.
moral imperative to kill or to not kill this person because it like that's like one of the principles?
Yeah, I don't think you have a moral imperative to kill that. No,
No,
like
no, to
I think it
not kill
wouldn't
it.
be a way specifically. I think like also called if all of my virtues and values align or reach towards the conclusion that you should not kill anybody, and then suddenly there's a case in which you have to kill somebody, right? I think you could probably say that it's right indexed to like all of the practical options that are available to you. Sure. Right? However, I don't think I'd grant that's morally justified. Right? It's the same sort of cases like okay, well, I have two children,
Mm-hmm.
right? Actually, I have three children. All of them have been born. I know that one of them is going to go on to like experience a really painful disease in future. And the only way for me to prevent that from happening is for me to brutally beat them till they actually they lose their life. I don't think I'm morally obligated to beat them till they lose their life just because it reaches to like or just because it reaches to a better conclusion in the end.
Okay. I can just ask you this. You would agree? Do you agree? Not choosing to act is a type of act.
Give me a second.
What?
Give me a second.
Okay. Wait. When did the
Rizzhan,
debate
you
start?
retarded.
When did the debate start? It's. Oh fuck! It's been like an hour. We're like 20 minutes over the time limit. That's hilarious.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I just asked you. Do you agree that choosing not to act is a type of action?
Choosing not to act is a type of action.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume the action would be the choice you're making. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say I'm in the scenario I gave prior, right? Where, like I can kill this one person to stop them from killing two people, right?
Mhm.
Um, would you say that me choosing not to kill this person, is in like that action is me choosing to kill two people indirectly?
Is me choosing to kill two people indirectly? No, because I'd assume in cases where I say I indirectly kill someone, I'm like causally responsible for these killings happening, but I'm not
Yeah, you are.
actually causally responsible for these things, two things happening. Maybe you could say I'm causally responsible for like this person being able to walk free, sure, but like unless they are predetermined to do these things and like they would never change otherwise, then I don't. don't grant that.
Well, no. Okay, so you are causally responsible, right? You could add something into like a chain or into like the chain of causes that makes it so that like the thing in the end doesn't come about. So you are causally responsible. Your choice
But
not to sorry, real quick.
Mhm.
Your
Go ahead.
choice not to kill the person is the cause for you choosing not to kill the person is the cause for
Yeah,
the
sure,
person to
sure,
go
sure.
bad.
If I grant that, right, like again, it could be one of those situations where, like, in the prior analogy I gave you, where I can just grant that both of the options, right? Like,
Sorry, would you say
if
again? There was
I
a
see,
theme there.
yeah. So again, I think that in certain sort of moral dilemmas you're put into, both of the options you're being provided could be wrong. So say
Which one do you think
yeah,
you should do?
really, yeah, wait. So say you're like a really devout Muslim, right? And what's it called? You have the option to either A, like unalive your entire family, or B, burn the Quran and denounce Allah, right? Both of those options are wrong. Letting your family down or like directly killing your family is wrong, right? And also denouncing God is also wrong, right? So you would have a moral imperative to do neither of those options, right? But obviously neither of those options are practically possible. So like it would just be a case where you're stuck in a bad ending, basically.
Okay, I just have a question. Do you believe that like in the killing example, which one do you think you have an imperative to do? Like given those are your only two options, which one do you think you should do?
I don't think in cases where both of these options are like trivially immoral, I don't think you have an imperative to do either of them.
Okay, so I want you. Okay, so let's up the stakes. You can kill one person, and if you don't kill that person, they'll go on to drop a nuke that kills 1,000,000 people.
Yeah, no, yeah, no. I don't think you have an imperative to like, or I don't think you should be commanded to like take somebody's life in any sort of situation. If
Okay,
the option
so
is like denounce God and take and like let a nuke be dropped, I don't think you have an imperative to do either of them. No, I
okay,
think
so
like
I
I
just
don't think it'd be unintuitive to like most people to say that both of these options. Also, I have like
okay, great.
5 minutes now.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I want you to repeat after me. Like repeat the sentence back to me.
Mhm.
I Shinra do not believe I Shinra do not believe that I should stop Hitler from doing the Holocaust by killing him.
I do not believe that I should start. I should like do an action if it violates my own values.
Oh
So,
no. Repeat the exact verbatim back to what I said because
well, I
that's
don't
the
think I need to repeat it verbatim back
no
to
no
you.
no
Do
no.
they not? Wait, hold on. Do they not mean the same thing? It's
Oh
a
no
yes
no.
or no.
Oh,
Wait, it's a yes or no.
well
I do not believe. Wait, hold. I do not believe I should do like align my actions with things that violate my values.
actually we can just
Is
get a
that
quick
not the
yes or
same
no.
thing?
We can just get a quick yes or
Wait,
no.
it's a yes
Do
or
you
no
wait
to
hold
that
on wait
question too.
hold on
Do
Shinra.
they not mean the same?